All right, so thank you everybody for coming to learn about how to access capital for small businesses in Maryland. My name again is Nick Rudolph. I'm the Baltimore Regional Director with Maryland Capital Enterprises, and today we also have Jim Peterson from M&T Bank. We're both going to talk about how to access capital from our different organizations, and then after that, we're going to open it up for questions, just so that we can hear what questions you have and hopefully get you closer to that loan for your small business. So Jim, if you'd like to take it away for your side, go right ahead.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Good evening. I'm Jim Peterson, as Nick stated. I'm with M&T Bank. I'm on the multicultural banking team, and I am the small business ambassador. So again, we're going to talk to you about getting funding, and my presentation is how to unlock access to capital. So I'll share my slides. If you give me a second to get this set up. All right. Are you seeing my slides?
Yeah, we've got
Yes.
your yep.
All right. Let me just switch to presentation mode, and we can go ahead and get started. Now, again, I can't see I can't see the Zoom chat or anybody raising their hand. So, Nick, if you can help me with that, um, as I'm running along, if you want to just jump in again, anybody have any questions, you can just raise your hand or jump in or unmute yourself and stop me at any time. So, what we're going to talk about tonight is unlocking access to capital, and in that, okay, there we go. Our agenda tonight, I'm going to touch on the 5 C's of credit in case you haven't heard them before. I'm going to talk about the loan application basics, what you're going to need when it comes to getting a loan with a traditional lender. And then what is the SBA and how might they help you? That's kind of, you would think everybody knows what the SBA is, but not everybody knows exactly how you utilize them or exactly what they do. So I'm going to touch on that just to try to answer some of the questions that you might have yourself. And again, as I go through this, if I'm moving too fast or if you need me to spend a little more time on something, or you have a personal situation that you want to discuss, we want to try to stay on time, but at the same time, we're here for you. So the most important part is for us to answer your questions, and we'll be happy to send you a copy of the slides that you could have to review later. So the 5 C's of credit. And again, you should have seen this before. Um, sometimes you'll see 6 C's of credit. I've seen 7 C's of credit, but the basics are 5 C's of credit. And the first C is capacity. Can you repay all of your current and proposed debt obligations? Now, what that means is, are you currently paying your bills? And is there enough left over that if you were to borrow, you can afford to pay that loan back? So that's what we're looking at when we say capacity. Oftentimes we use a number called the debt service credit ratio. So we want to know that you can pay your bills and still have enough left over to pay the loan back, right? So we'll include the loan in your debt and then come up with that debt service credit ratio figure. And we typically like to have a 1.25, right? So a one would mean that you're just breaking even. So we like to see you at 1.25, which means that you got a little bit extra left over, right? And if you're way above that, then you're just more comfortable as it relates to that loan. So the higher, the better. And then the second C is capital. What personal funds do you have or profits have you invested? Some people might call this skin in the game, right? So if you have cash in the bank, that helps. If you can show that you put so much into the business already, right? We want to see that, and again, perhaps you just have equipment, machinery, vehicles, something like that. That's investment, because we want to know that we're in this together. Your lender wants to know that you're not just taking our money to start this business. We want to know that we're partners moving forward, and that you've put some in and we've put some in, right? And that makes for a better partnership. So we want to know, what have you put in. If you've started your business, even if you're early stages, very early stages, you ought to have put something in. It might just be time, right? You could say, I've spent 6 months putting this together, and that time has value. Perhaps you bought a laptop, perhaps you created a website, right? Social media accounts, maybe some vendor accounts. All those things have value. So we want to know, what have you done already? What have you invested in yourself? And then we'll evaluate how much we might want to invest. So the third C is collateral. And this is anything that has value, basically. What do you own that has value? That in the instance of a default, we might be able to get some value from these items to help pay back the loan. Now, again, that could be a number of things. If you own any real estate, the business owns its building that it's working out of. Could be computers, could be desk and furniture, could be equipment, could be vehicles. Again, anything that has value could be used for collateral. So that's collateral. I know again, that's one of those things that we all have heard that before, but some people may not know exactly what do you mean by collateral, and it's typically exactly what you think it means, right? It's whatever the business owns that might have value, but it's also what you personally might own that has value. Depending on your lender, they may need some of your personal items as collateral. And if you're talking about a traditional bank, that's exactly what we mean. We mean anything that has value that's owned by you or the business, right? So, and then there's character, and we want to know, a little bit about you, what experiences you have, what credentials you have, and this could be you and your team if you have partners or some folks that you're starting this business with. We want to know about all of your character, right? Anybody who's going to be signing for this loan, we want to know who our partners are going to be. So we want to know about you, and I like to ask the question: how do you think we know what your character is? Not knowing you, and just looking at your application or conversation that we're having, how might you think that we'll find out about your character? And the answer to that is your credit report, right? Not just your credit number, not that 3-digit number. That tells us one thing, but your credit report tells us about your character, tells us a lot about you and how you pay your bills and how you manage your finances. All right, so that helps. That's one way. The other way is what you tell us, right? Hopefully, we're going to get some background on you. You're going to share some information either through your business plan or some conversations, right? Hopefully, we'll get a resume from you, a bio, and perhaps a resume from you and your partners if others are signing on this. And we just want to know who we're getting into business with, who we're going to be partners with over the term of this loan. So that's your character. And we want to do business with people who are of good character, right? And those are some of the ways that we find out um, all about your character. Again, if you're filling out an application, you're possibly going to be asked about some references. We may call your references and find out, are you who you're telling us you are? Um, that's what we're trying to find out. And then finally, the fifth C is conditions, right? How do current industry trends, local market dynamics, or broader economic conditions affect your business and its ability to repay the loan, right? And many people forget about this part of it, right? They'll cover all the other C's, but they forget about conditions. There were a lot of folks who came to me personally, either during the pandemic or right after the pandemic, wanting to open up food establishments, as if the pandemic didn't happen and we weren't all shut down, especially food establishments weren't all shut down. And I had to have this conversation that, hey, this is not a good time, right? It's never impossible. I would never tell somebody don't apply, because who knows? You might have the best solution for a food related business ever, right? But you got to be aware of these conditions. You got to understand that the whole world has shut down, right? There's very few food establishments that are still open right now. So the likelihood of you getting a loan to start another one is very slim. Again, not impossible, but very slim. You need to be aware of that, right? If you tried to start during or after the pandemic, shortly after the pandemic, a business that purchased a lot of its goods, raw materials, etc., from overseas, right? It would have been very difficult for you to get a loan at that time, because the supply chain was very much disrupted. I'll say, right? It was difficult to get items from overseas. So if you weren't getting product domestically, it was kind of hard to get a loan for a business of that type during that time. So you got to be aware of what's going on, not only globally, but locally, right? If you're looking to expand a farm or grow a farm or buy a farm, and there's some situations like a dry spell, right, going on, or excessive rain or something like that that could affect that farm, right? You need to be aware of that. And as a lender, we expect you to be aware of that, right? When you come to us, you know, we have tools, right? We may not know the farming industry, but we have tools. It's, in a couple of clicks, we can find out exactly what's going on in the farming industry, right? Or if you're trying to open up a restaurant, and in a couple of clicks, we're going to find out what's going on with restaurants, right? What was the history around restaurants, how they fared during the pandemic, which would give us an idea that if something else were to happen, what might happen to this industry, and future forecasts, right? We can find those things out, coupled with the fact that we have some very experienced folks within the bank. There's folks that we can call for almost anything and say, hey, what's going on in this space, or what's going on in that space. So we can find out, but we expect you to know, right? So if you're giving us a business plan, we want to see all these C's covered, because we expect you to know. And if there's something missing, we're going to wonder, do you just not know, or are you trying to obfuscate, right? You just don't want us to know, because it may not bode well for your application, right? So you don't want to leave any of these out. You want to make sure that you share with us that you have these things covered, because we're going to know. We're going to find out. We do. This is what we do. So we're going to find out about you. We're going to find out about your business. We're going to find out about conditions, and because it's our job to find out, because we want to help you. You know, Contrary to some people's belief, we want to lend you money. So we're going to find out everything that we can, so we can all move forward and try to get you to where you need to be. So I'm hoping that I covered that well enough for anybody. And are there any questions around the 5 C's of credit? If not,
Good
I'll keep
after,
moving. Yep.
good afternoon. I mean, good evening.
Good
Um,
evening.
my name is Angela. Uh, what are you doing now? Like, like with this government shutdown, or some people might got laid off, right?
Yep.
Or let go, and they want to start their business. They might take their money out and want to start. How do
Sure.
you evaluate that?
Well, just like we evaluate anybody else, right? We're going to start with these 5 C's of credit, and that has you didn't hear me say anything about whether or not you have a job right now or not, right? We're evaluating you and the business that you want to start, right? If you took some money out of somewhere, as you mentioned, that means you got some capital that you're willing to put in, right? Your skin in the game. Hopefully, you have some experience in the space that you want to go into. You have good character, you have collateral, you have capacity, right? And hopefully, the conditions are right for the business that you want to start. So, if all those things are in place, whether or not you currently have a job really doesn't play into that, right? So, we're going to look at your projections for this business, and hopefully, those projections will show us that that business will be able to sustain itself in a relatively short period of time. Whatever you borrow will help you get the business off the ground, and then the business will hopefully sustain itself so that you're not dependent on a job. Now, if you can't prove to us or at least get us to believe that that business will be sustainable in a short period of time, that's when we have a problem, right? That's when we look for a second source of income to keep you going until the business can sustain itself. And that's where the fact that you no longer have a job may come into play. But it's not a negative on you, right? Just because you got laid off. It's all about the business you're trying to start, the experience you have starting that business, and the likelihood of that business being successful.
I mean, I probably wanted to add, like, because your credit may go down because you don't have your income now. You know, do you just
Yeah, that
take all those factors in? You know what I mean?
we do.
Okay,
And
that's what
again,
I was talking about. Yes, thank you.
yeah, thank you. We will
Mhm.
take that into account. Yeah, again, if you just got laid off, probably not. But if this goes on for several months, your credit may be affected, and that will come into play.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So let's talk about the loan application basics. So your checklist for your loan application is going to be an application. Your personal credit report, we're going to pull it. Your personal tax returns we're going to need. We're going to need business tax returns. And again, I said personal and business because you are the business. Unless you're somebody like Jeff Bezos, right? And your company's making so much money and has so much um, standing on its own that it doesn't need you. We're going to need your personal tax returns along with the business tax returns if you've been in business. So if you haven't been in business, then we're just going to base everything on your personal tax returns. And again, that's helping us build that character more than anything. If you have a job, we're going to be looking at that as secondary income. Could be primary income until the business again is sustainable. But we're going to need those personal tax returns, business financial statements if you've been in business, personal financial statements again, and any collateral information that you have. Because as I mentioned, we're going to be looking for the collateral that the business has. We're also going to be looking at your personal collateral. For a startup, you are the business, so it's one in the same. And I get it that you might not want to use your personal collateral, and we will do what we can to avoid having to use that personal collateral. But if the loan needs to be collateralized, we're going to go with whatever you have. Um, and it'll be up to you whether you want to move forward with that or not. So what we like to have is also a business plan, any contracts or purchase orders that you might have. So you might have people waiting for your product or service. That's always good to share with us, right? If you got people that want to buy what you're selling, that's awesome. We love to see that. Or perhaps you have a contract somewhere. You have a government contract or a contract with a large company. contract with a school, contract with somebody that again wants your product or service. That's great. Share that with us. Business lease or loan agreements, business license. Again, we want to see that you know your business. So we're gonna know if your business is a business that needs particular licensing. We're gonna know. So we want to know that you know, right? So if there is a license that you should have, you should present that along with your loan package. And then disclosures, if you own other businesses or have or your business partners, right? We want to know where your focus is, right? Are you 100% in this? Are you splitting that with some partners? Do you have other interests? Are you in school? Are you working another job? We want to know where your interest lies, right? We're going to make that determination ourselves, but we want to hear from you. You know, where do your interests lie? Again, if you don't tell us, then we're going to think you're trying to hide something, right? So if you are working a full-time job, that's fine. Let us know. If you do have another business, that's fine. Let us know, right? If you're in school, etc., it's okay. Let us know so we all know what we're dealing with as we move forward. So those are the things that we're going to be looking to have in your application. If you're looking to buy a rental property, right, we would be looking to see that it's rent roll, what we call a rent roll, right? Is this property already rented? If it's an apartment building, how many of the apartments are already rented? What are the folks paying? What did they used to pay? We want to see a history, right? What are you projecting them to pay in the future? Again, in your business plan, we're looking for a little bit of history. We're looking for where are you now? What is it that you're trying to do? And then where are you going 3 to 5 years from now? What is that business going to look like? Right? We want to see all of that in your business plan, so we can get a good idea again of what this partnership is going to look like as we roll into the future. Nick, how am I doing on time? Are we good? I don't have much more.
Yeah, we should be good. Absolutely.
Okay, so required documentation for the application process. Like I mentioned, we need your personal tax return. So if it's under $250,000 for M&T Bank, we're going to need 1 year personal tax returns. If it's over $250,000, we're going to need 2 years of personal tax returns. On the business side, if it's under 250, we need 2 years of business tax returns. If it's over 250, we're going to need 3 years of business tax returns. Now that's if the business has been in business that long. If you've only been in business for a year, then of course we're going to take what you have. If you're just starting up, then obviously we can't get 1 year or 2 year or 3 years, but we need something from you. Hopefully your balance sheet, your P&L, year to date, some history on however long that history is. It could be 6 months, could be 12 months, could be 3 months, right? We need whatever we can get from you in terms of when you started and where we are today. Now that makes the application a little more difficult, right? If you don't have a history that we can go back to, because traditional lenders like M&T Bank are historical lenders, right? We base our lending on historical data, and we're cash flow lenders, right? So we want to know what kind of cash flow has been generated in the past years, so we can predict what kind of cash flow might be generated in future years. So if you don't have that history, it may make it a little more difficult for a traditional lender like M&T Bank. And where we make up that difference is with the SBA. So you have options, right? And that's gonna be my last point that I'm gonna wrap up with after I get through this. So your personal financial statement we need from you, right? We're going to understand your personal assets, your liabilities, and your net worth. And then we want projections. Again, I talked about that a minute ago. 3 to 5 years of business projection. What do you expect this business to do in the next 3 to 5 years? All right, so we can do that evaluation and get a good understanding of where you in this business might be in the next few years. And then, as I mentioned, the SBA. So let's talk about the SBA a little bit. Here are some frequently asked questions on the SBA process, right? What is SBA lending? So the SBA is a partner of the bank, right? And they help mitigate the risk. Banks don't like risk. So the SBA is a guarantor that helps mitigate some of those risks. I just mentioned a few minutes ago that if you're starting your business, you're just now starting your business, and you don't have any history that we can look back on and say, oh, they did this year and that this year, yeah, and they're trending in the right direction, and and all the things that we want to see when we look at historical data. If you don't have that, then that again that that's more risky. And in order to mitigate that risk, we can go to the SBA and say, hey, listen, we kind of like this person's character, right? They got the capacity, they got all the other C's, but they just don't have that history that we feel warm and fuzzy about. So would you mind guaranteeing this loan? And then they would do their evaluation, and if they step in, then they'll mitigate that additional risk, right? They'll step in and say, hey, we feel good about it, and therefore you should feel good about it, right? And that SBA is kind of like your um, what we like to call our rich uncle co-signing for us. And how many of you know that rich uncle really isn't rich, right? He just got good credit. But that's the SBA, right? The SBA is kind of like your buddy that's going to co-sign on that loan for you. And we're the number one SBA lender in the Mid-Atlantic, so we do a lot of SBA lending. Number two is not even close, and it's one of the big guys, but they're not even close. We do more SBA lending than anybody in the Mid-Atlantic area. So why do I need an SBA guarantee? So typically, it's needed if you're 2 years or less, right? If you want to buy a business, if you're a startup business, perhaps you don't have any of that collateral we talked about, what personal or business, right? You just don't have anything that's worth enough that could be used as collateral, right? You might have a car, but it might not be worth as much as you want to borrow, right? Depending on the size of the loan, you may have a home that's not worth enough based on the size of the loan. So if you're in that situation, then the SBA again could come in and say, all right, we realize they don't have much collateral. We realize they're a startup. Maybe they don't have that history that you're looking for. Maybe the conditions aren't great, right? We realize it's 4 years out of a pandemic, and they want to open up a restaurant, and you think it's a little too risky, but we kind of like we kind of like Taco Bells, and they want to open up a Taco Bell. We know Taco Bell has a great experience, great history. So we say yes, right? Then the bank can take another look at it and say, well, if the SBA is good with it, perhaps we can get good with it, right? So those are reasons why we might want to use the SBA, and that's exactly what the SBA does. So the last question is a really good one, right? Hear it all the time. How long will this process take? And it takes longer than you want it to take. And now, again, conditions given where we are right now, especially in a government shutdown, it's SBA packages are taking a long time. So with the bank, you're typically looking at 4 to 8 weeks with a typical loan, right? And everything varies. Again, if it's under $250,000, it's going to be should take less time. If it's over that, it could take more time. But then you take that and you put the SBA process on top of it, right? So that's more paperwork, that's more back and forth between the bank and the SBA, and then you throw in the shutdown, and it could really take some time, because right now we have some loans uh, that we're trying to get through as a bank that can't even be evaluated right now because there's nobody there. It's shut down. The process is stopped. So there's a bunch of loans backing up in the queue that are not being looked at right now. So that could be a long process, but don't let that stop you. If you have a need, make those applications, get them in, get in line, right? Because the longer you wait, the further down in line you're going to get. So the process isn't stopped; it's just delayed for now, unfortunately. So that's some of the frequently asked questions around the SBA, and then here's some of the uses for SBA loans. Short-term working capital, right? Perhaps you have inventory, payroll accounts receivables, right? Maybe you want to do leasehold improvements. You just got a new space. You want to do some build out. Great use for SBA. They have a number of different products that we can talk about if you want to give me a call. Um, that 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 fit a lot of different circumstances. A lot of these circumstances that I'm sharing with you here. Debt refinancing, right? So you've already borrowed some money and you want to refinance to something that's either fixed, fixed interest or lower interest or just a little more stable. Um, Permanent working capital. So you're trying to get some working capital. The SBA can help you with that. Business acquisition. We love for folks to buy existing businesses if they are cash flowing and they have a good history, right? It's so much less risky for the bank because we have that history. Like I said about Taco Bell, we love franchises because it's a proven model. So if you're looking to buy a franchise or business that just has a proven track record, it's so much less risky for the bank. We don't have to guess whether there's opportunity for success, right? We can't guarantee anybody's going to be successful, but at least we know based on the history that there's opportunity for success with certain businesses. Um, if you want to buy commercial real estate, right? The SBA has some great real estate related programs. Um, if you want to buy equipment, startup expenses, or expand your business, right? So that's what the SBA does. That's how they could help you. And that's it for my presentation. I'm sorry, Nick, I took kind of long with that, but if anybody has any other questions, you can. I don't know, Nick. Can they ask me now, or do you want to save
Yeah.
questions
Oh,
for
yeah. Go
after
right
the
ahead.
meeting?
I see that Divya has a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to ask.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
I
Yep.
sure can.
Okay. Thank you for this wonderful information. The reason I am in this call is because um, you're trying to open a restaurant and it's a franchisee. The franchisee is not as big, but the couple of store already exist and both of those stores are making good money. So we are taking their franchisee and trying to open up um, in Maryland. So if we have to go for a bank loan, then so do you consider the main franchisee thing, or do you still look into our records and our things like that? How does it work?
Yeah, if it's a franchise, we're going to look at that franchise. I'm sure we have some history on it, whether it's big or small. We
Mhm.
have history on it. We
Uh-huh.
would be looking for you to share some history on it, right? Perhaps you can share some information in a business plan that describes who that person or persons
Mhm.
are,
Mhm.
how they've done over the years, right? Whatever information they've shared with you, perhaps they've shared with you their financials, all right? And you can share that with
Yeah.
us. And we'll evaluate that. So we're going to
Okay.
evaluate the business and we're going to
Mhm.
evaluate you. And then we'll determine uh, if we can lend to you based on buying that business. But again, that's a much safer bet than if you said, "Hey, we want to start this new restaurant that nobody has ever done before, and we think it's going to be great." right? It's very hard for us to evaluate that because we've never seen it before and it has no history. So you're in a good position dealing with a business that is a franchise and has a history.
Yeah, they showed us their accounts and things. It fairly looks pretty promising. So that's why we are trying to invest and expand their dream to other areas within Maryland. We like their food too. So is this the number that I'm supposed to call and talk about it later? Or how do I reach out to you?
So that's actually our number at Maryland Capital. So, so
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
So
Should I put my information in the chat, Nick, or
sure,
do you
absolutely.
want them to
Yeah.
get in touch with you and you refer them to me? You can give them my information.
Yeah, either way, if you want to put your information in the chat, go for it. If not, I can refer folks to you for sure.
I mean, it would be great if you put your information in the chat. Like either ways, we are going to come to you only. So
I appreciate that. All right, so I'll put that in the chat
Mhm.
and happy to have that conversation.
Yes, please.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Jim, so much. You're going to make my presentation much shorter because, as people are about to find out, the process is very similar at a CDFI and a bank. So let's talk about that, everybody. So who are we at Maryland Capital Enterprises? Well, we are based out of Salisbury and what's known as a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. People think of us as nonprofit banks, but we do a lot more than that. We offer free technical assistance. We can help you develop your business plans. We can help you develop your cash flows. We've got webinars, conferences, all kinds of fun stuff. We've been doing it since 1998 on the shore, and we crossed over the bridge in 2012 to get to the Western Shore as well. We serve the whole Eastern Shore, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore City, Hartford County, and Cecil County. We're also a women's business center, so we have enhanced products for women-owned businesses on both sides of the bridge, and you can find out more about us at our websites. So people I think Jim covered it pretty well. We are an SBA intermediary lender. The SBA doesn't make the loans, so we get our money from lots of different places. Most of it is government sourced. It's okay. We still got money to lend. We also get some private money. We borrow from banks. Sometimes folks give us donations. But it's also good to know that even if you're not applying for a loan, all of our assistance is available to you for free. And if you're applying for a loan somewhere else, we'll even help you apply over there. So now we're going to talk about specifically how to get a loan with Maryland Capital Enterprises. So we're looking for a lot of the same things. The thorough business plan for us that is definitely required. We're going to want to see your experience in your field or your ability to get that experience. Do you have a mentor who's going to be able to help you out? We're looking for the strength of the cash flow and the realness of the cash flow. You know that you're going to make $2 billion in the first year, but if you put that on your cash flows, that's going to scare away people who want to give you a loan. So you want to show a worst case scenario that you're going to be able to pay yourself, pay your employees, pay your bills, and pay us. We're also looking at the strength of the collateral. Fully owned real estate is the best, but we can get really, really flexible with that. We can even use other folks' property. We're looking for reasonable credit. Just like Jim said, it's so much more than the number. We're looking at what you've been doing in the last 12 to 24 months. There are 2 disqualifiers, however. If you had a bankruptcy discharged in the last 24 months, or if you have a tax debt without a payment plan, you can't get a loan with us. You can apply for the loan and get everything teed up. So as soon as you're able to, you can get that loan, but we're not able to actually give the loans with those. Same thing, like Jim said, with the general economic conditions for the venture. Is this the right place and the right time for this business? Also, we're looking at things like saturation. If you've got a pizza shop and you're opening up in a neighborhood that's got 12 pizza shops, you're going to have to convince us that there's room for you in the market. And then your ability to get back in the workforce if the business is not successful, because you're still going to owe money on that loan. Just one moment. Alrighty, so next we're going to talk about what we need as far as documents are concerned. We do all of our stuff online. So the first thing we need is a client intake form that's available on our website, marylandcapital.org. Just go to the top right-hand corner. There's a button that says Get Started. Fill that out, and we're going to contact you within the next 3 business days. We'll assign you a counselor, and they'll help walk you through this whole process or get you the technical assistance you need. Our loan application is available online as well. On that is where you're going to be uploading the majority of these supporting documents, and they're almost exactly what Jim was looking for: the business plan, your financials, personal and business tax returns, assuming they exist. We also need to see 3 months of personal and corporate bank statements, assuming the corporate bank statements exist, because we are not a bank. So we need to see your statements there. And then we're also looking for anything else that might tell your story: your references, your resumes, your leases, your licenses, your certifications. If you've got estimates, quotes, invoices, that's all great. If you've got signed contracts, that's even better. So anything that's going to help tell your story. If you've got your socials up and your website up, we'd love to see that as well. But what are we specifically looking for? Well, first of all, the question is, can you pay back this loan? We want these businesses to help grow these communities, but it's not going to work if you're not able to have a successful business. So what we're looking for is passion. We want to know that you've got the drive to do the hard work that it takes to run a business. It is always going to be difficult at the beginning. It's going to take a lot of time, so you need to have that passion. We're also looking for that expertise, like I said before. Is this something you've been doing for a while? Is it something you've got education in? Or is it something that a mentor is going to help you get started? We're also going to want to know your research. We want to know that you understand your place in the market and who your target customers are. If you come to us saying that everybody is our target customer, that's probably not a good thing. So even though everybody can come to your salon, you might want to think, well, the majority of our clients are African American women between 35 and 55 who make $100,000 to $150,000 a year. So we're going to target our advertising to that demographic, because those are the folks who are coming. Other people will take their money as well, but these people are going to keep our doors open. We want to know your contingency plan. Oftentimes when you're starting a small business, it's a 1 or 2 person shop. What happens if you can't work for 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months? How does the business continue? We're also looking for your credit and collateral. So we do look at your credit report, even though we aren't looking for a minimum score, and the strength of the collateral can really help mitigate some issues on that credit report. So what happens? We get all of that stuff in. We take those. Actually, we've just changed this to the second Friday of the month. Then we are going to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, let you know where we might have some suggestions to improve things. I think somebody might be unmuted. Please mute yourselves. We're also then we're going to get everything ready, and then we're going to send it to the loan committee. They're going to make a decision in the 4th or the last week of the month, and then you're going to get a yes or a no. Now, it does say that we determine the amount, but generally we only want to do full approvals or denials. And the reason why is, if you say to us, I need $50,000 to grow this business, and we give you $25,000, we're setting you up for failure with debt. So make sure to ask for what you need. Thinking positively, you're going to get a yes. You're going to find out the day of the meeting that it was a yes. We're going to get a commitment letter out to you as quickly as possible. And generally, loans are closed within 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer if there's some complicated collateral, but that's generally our goal. We've got a couple of different kinds of loans that are available to businesses in our service area. The first is our small business loan. If you've been around for 2 calendar years or 2 tax years, then you can apply for up to $150,000. Less than that, then your maximum is about $35,000. The terms of the loans are going to be dependent on the size of the loan. A $35,000 loan will probably be 5 years. $50,000 will probably be 6 years. Anything over 100 will be 10 years. While our rates generally are set at 6 to 12%, most of the loans going out right now are in the 8 to 9% range. Again, we do require collateral, and we also require personal guarantees. If you own 20% or more of the business, you're going to have to personally guarantee the loan. If you have a huge ownership structure, we're going to want to see 3 or 4 people guaranteeing that loan. We do have an application fee. It's $100 plus $25 per owner. We only check TransUnion, and we only do a soft pull. And we will give you an opportunity to answer any questions about missed payments or things that we find on your credit report. We do have closing fees, but we take those out of the proceeds of the loan. Generally, a $50,000 loan will walk out the door with just north of $48,000. We take automatic payments from your business checking account, so make sure that money is in there. However, if you know you're not able to make a payment and you give us a call at least a week ahead of time, we'll figure something out. We'll go to interest only, we'll defer a payment, we might even restructure the whole loan for you. On the other side, you get that great huge contract, you've got money burning a hole in your pocket, you can just pay off the loan for the principal right there with no prepayment penalties. That's something that used to be unique, but now lots of folks are doing that. We also are going to visit you at least twice a year. It could be virtual or in person. We're going to want to look at your books. We're going to talk to you about your business and let you know about other resources that we have for your business. Questions that people like to ask are, is my business eligible and what can I use this funding for? Well, most businesses in Maryland, small businesses, are eligible. There are a few that aren't. Those old traditional sin industries, adult bookstores, 100% alcohol, 100% tobacco. However, we are able to work in both the medical and recreational cannabis space. As far as loan uses, any business-related expense, there are only a few exceptions. Number one is if you are a home-based business, we cannot pay your rent, mortgage, or utilities. And number two, if you are in the property investment, we cannot purchase properties that you're going to rent out or sell, and we cannot rehab those properties. What we can do is build out your office, buy your trucks, buy your reusable equipment like the jackhammers and circular saws. We can't do things like nails and drywall. We also have a credit builder loan. These are for folks who either have no credit or poor credit, who might be looking to dip their toe into entrepreneurship, or who have a business with a quick need that's about $5,000. A tree grew through a pipe at your restaurant, something like that. These are usually 2-year terms. The interest rate is always 9%, and collateral is not required. However, it's encouraged. Everything else is the same, except for much lower fees. It's the $50 application fee, and then the closing costs are $75, no matter the size of the loan. One thing is, before I wrap up and we open up to questions, you guys are already doing this, but there is nowhere in the country with more free small business resources than Maryland. So take advantage of all of us. Ask us all the same questions. We're all friends. We're collaborators. We're not competitors. We all have different experiences. Figure out who you like to work with and then work with those folks. But there's tons of small business centers around you. Public libraries often have small business rooms. Your bank will often have classes and resources for you. Your county or your city, the state has lots and lots of departments that can help your small business. And then there's also just nonprofits out there helping you out. Of course, the SBA, when the government is open, is great. They've got the Small Business Development Center. They've got SCORE, which is the Senior Corps of Retired Executives, who might be able to get you a mentor. And then, I mean, you guys are doing it with the UMES, but talk to your universities around you, even if you are not an alumnus. There's lots of stuff that they can do for you. There's always classes looking for internships. They often have small business centers. They often have, I know Morgan State has events all the time for small businesses. And then your local business organizations, your Main Street, your Downtown Partnership, your Rotary, your Chamber of Commerce. I'll go ahead and skip this. We can get these slides out to you. And then we've got a bunch more webinars coming up. They're all free. If you sign up for it and are unable to attend, we can get you the video and the slides. So even if it isn't working out for your schedule and you want to see it, go ahead and sign up anyway. And we've got about 10 minutes left. So are there any questions? We're the money people. Ask the questions.
So can you also share your details?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So let me get that in
I know
the
there
chat.
was one screen that you shared in the beginning. Is that the same details?
Yep. So that's our office phone number.
Okay.
And then I will type my email in the chat so you all can copy and paste if you want to.
Sure, that would be great.
Any other questions?
So I know we talked about the limit and everything, but maybe I missed in the initial sessions. So how much of our money should be there in the business overall? What's the percentage that you're looking?
So for us, It's not a set percentage. It's, we're looking at the whole story. Sometimes folks don't have money and their skin in the game.
Yeah.
It's, work that they've done. It's, equipment that they're bringing in that they've already had. It's, if you don't have the money and you've got the collateral, we can consider that part of skin in the game. It might be a little bit different at banks though.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the bank, the general rule is 20%, right? Because the SBA is only going to guarantee 80%. So we're going to be looking to make up that difference, and that we're going to be looking to you to make up that difference typically. Certainly on any commercial loans, you're only going to get a loan for 80%. So we're going to be looking for you to put 20% down. But again, that 20% could possibly be made up of your investments over the years, your investment in, if you bought some equipment for that business, in a number of ways. So we're looking to help you get there. But yeah, we do need you to have some investment of your own.
All right. Any other questions? Just feel free to unmute yourself. Alrighty, well, it looks like there are not a lot of questions tonight. I always think of my best questions when these things end, so feel free to email me or call our office. If you need help with cash flows, give me a call. That's something we can do on a Zoom in about an hour. Jim, thank you as always. I keep learning stuff from you even after 10 years, so I appreciate it. And folks, I hope we see you all around, and I hope you see you at another webinar. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank
Thank
you
you
both
all.
of you so much. Yeah, it was very helpful to know the information so that we can reach
Yes.
out to you guys. Thank you for
Great.
helping
Glad
us.
to hear that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Glad to hear
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
So this recording and slides, would that both be shared?
Yeah, so if you send me an email, we'll be able to get them to you.
Okay, sure. I'll send you an email now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye.